Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Legendary Leaders. I am your host, Katrina Jameson. I'm the founder of Legend Leaders, where we arm female business leaders with the strategies they need to master the one rule of career success and live a legend life. Last week, we kicked off the topic of your team, really understanding how you're being the leader they need you to be, how they're being the team the company needs them to be, so that you can deliver and close out Q4, close out the fiscal year, and really show the value and deliver on the value that the company needs you to deliver on, and that ultimately you want to deliver on, right? That's just part of your brand. Your brand is all about showing up, delivering, making it happen, making the company a little bit better, making it a better place for your team to work, and ultimately providing a valuable service to the customer that your company serves, right? That's who you are. That's why you show up every day. So let's make sure that you're doing it and that your team is doing it. In this world, especially in the corporate world, and I alluded to it last week, but let me be really clear and intentional about it this week. It's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to get distracted by, the task over here, or this little action item over there, or the drama that's happening, in this other team that sits down the hall if you're in an office, right? Or the Slack battles, or anything, the passive aggressiveness, the human things that happen, right? It could be pivots in the business, or it could be human changes that exist within the organization. It could be layoffs. It could be strategic changes because of the changes in the economy. It doesn't matter. There are things that are happening that will distract you. And how you maintain your level of success and your level of security is all about how you deliver daily value. If you can overcome the distractions and have that really high level view, then you'll be perfectly fine. And part of what we're doing this month is ensuring that through your leadership and through the way that you're interacting with your team, you are delivering the value and your team's delivering the value. That's what we want. Okay, so now that we've re-anchored ourselves on the purpose of the topic, my hand is itching. I don't know why. They say when your hand is itching, what? Money? You're going to get money? I don't know. I don't remember that old saying. That's what they say here in the South. But my hand is itching and I don't have any bug bites. So anyway, I apologize for the distraction if you're watching me right now, if you're watching the video. I'm back on track. Maybe it's money. I don't know. I know a lot of money is going out with the kids in school, but we'll see. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the point here. Here are the things I want you to do. Last week, you sat down and you did your gut check. You checked yourself in the mirror and you said, hey, here's where I am relative to my leadership. Here's what I've been doing as the leader of my team. Here's how I've been keeping myself focused. Here's how I've been keeping them focused. And here is how we're doing on those 3 to 5s. You ask yourself some basic questions. You found your personal starting point. And we always have to do that. Before we can build a strategic plan, we have to know where we are and where we want to be, because the plan actually closes that gap. But we don't know the plan, we can't create the plan, and we don't know how big the gap is if we don't have the 2 points. So last week, your homework was to establish your starting point for yourself and your leadership. This week, I want you to create your assessment form. Now, you may have some forms already where you sit down and you assess the talent of your team and you go through that, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine if you have that. But what I want you to do is I want you to do this from memory. I want you to do this exercise. This exercise is really important because as you ask yourself these questions, you may find a different answer. You may answer it in a little bit of a different way, and that difference is just enough to help you make a pivot in the way that you're leading and in the way that you engage your team and get the results that you're looking for. Okay? It's important. So even if you have a performance sheet that you fill out on a regular basis for your team and you deliver it and you have discussions with them, my challenge for you today is to go through this exercise and create potentially a different perspective for yourself to unlock a little bit more of your leadership potential and therefore also unlock your team's potential. So now that we have the why, let's talk about what you're going to do. There are going to be 4 things I want you to sit down and think about. And again, if you haven't grabbed the worksheets or the workbook for this month's topic, Go grab it because these questions are already there and you don't have to write them down. Okay? The first question that you've got to answer is, what are the 3 to 5 value adds that you committed to delivering to? What are those 3 to 5 things? We as leaders always have 3 to 5 things that we're standing for, that we're delivering on, that we're going to achieve in the current year. What are those things? That's your first question. Now let's talk through that for a second. Either you know them because you thought through it last week, or you have a list of about 10 to 15, which is going to be a problem because no team can really focus on anything really large, right? Significant value adds, moving the needle, changing the trajectory of the business. They can't really do any more than 5. That's a lot, okay? That's a lot of spinning plates. And if you've got more than that, you can do more than that, but you're not going to be able to do more than that well. Everything that's going and happening more than 5, it's going to get a little bit of attention, but nothing is going to be great. You can do 3 to 5 things really, really well. You can deliver on them with excellence. And so your challenge is to write down those 3 to 5 things and look at it and ask yourself, have I been pushing on those things? Have I been clear? That was your homework last week, but let's do it again. Through writing down the 3 to 5 things. So what are your 3 to 5? If you've got more, write them down. We've got to identify them, but make your list. Number 2, what are the key valuable competencies and performance measures that you're looking for in your team that they've got to display and they've got to drive, and that's what you use to measure the value that they're adding. Okay, so break it down. We've got our 3 to 5. Now we're going to drill in and we're looking at our 3 to 5 or whatever your list is. We're looking at those things and we're thinking to ourselves, okay, now, in order for my team to successfully deliver on these valuable action items, the things that we're standing for this year, they have to be able to do what? They have to show up and do what? Do they have to report out numbers properly? Do they have to be able to analyze data and interpret information and take proper action? Do they have to have good judgment? What about presentation skills? What about training skills, effective communication? What are all the things that when you look at your star player and they're delivering on these 3 to 5, what are the things that they're doing? The actions that they're taking and the way that they show up in their leadership and add value. What are those key valuable competencies and performance measures that are 100% required for each of your team members in order for them to be successful and reach that endpoint of achieving, as a team, those 3 to 5 focus points for the year? Write those things down. What do they got to show up doing? What do they got to bring to the table? Right? The next piece, or the sub piece, I'm going to ask you this in a little bit of a different way because this may be a little bit of a struggle. You're like, well, Katrina, I guess they've got to show good judgment. Okay, good. That sounds like a great HR question, and we want to stay away from those a little bit. I want you to ask yourself, what are their lead measures that if they show up in a certain way, they're going to get the results you expect? They're going to show up on time? They're going to meet deadlines? Are they going to give you a heads up on anything that could be a risk or a delay in adding value? What are the key things? Don't just keep it surface level of effective communication or effective judgment. Get really specific because you have to be able to give them very specific feedback. You have to give them the recipe for success. That's your job as a leader, right? I always say it, success should be an open book test. You have to give them the answers. So success on your team looks like what? How do they show up? How do they engage? What do they do? That's what you're defining right now in question number 2. And then number 3, the question that you need to answer, question number 3 is, now that you've defined those attributes, now that you've told them what success looks like, how are you measuring that? How are you measuring performance? I would imagine and expect that it's a combination of observation of their behaviors, their delivery to certain metrics and milestones, right? Milestones, timelines, metrics, performance measures, KPIs, business metrics, and it's a combination of those three. But define it. Exactly what are you looking at? Are they supposed to send you a weekly recap email? That's a measure. It's a measure in are they actually doing it? And then what's the quality of content that they're sharing with you? That's a measure. But you've got to define how you're measuring it. Okay? So again, let me recap if you're writing this down. If you don't have the workbook yet, let me recap. Number 1, write out the 3 to 5 things that you ask your team to deliver on this year. Define them very specifically. If you have more than that, write out all that you've asked them to deliver on. Big rocks. Number 2, what are the attributes that you're looking for your team to display? It's the open book test. It's the answers to the test of success. What do they have to do? That if they show up in these certain ways and they do these certain things, they're going to absolutely deliver and help you as a team deliver to those 3 to 5. Number 3, the exact measures that you're using as the leader to assess their performance. And it's a combination of metrics, business metrics, observations, and delivery to timelines. And the last but not least, number 4 is how often are you taking all this information and sharing it with them? How often are you giving them the feedback that they need in order to tweak and adjust and improve, or continue to do the things that they're doing because they're already doing it really well? If you're not having a weekly to bi-weekly touch base or weekly to every other week touch base, you must do that. And that's a note I want you to make. So this is your framework. This is how you're going to give feedback to your team and help them close out the year strong. But you have to understand what that looks like first. So you're developing and creating your metrics and your measures. You're creating the answers to the test. That's what this action is all about. So your challenge today is to go sit down and do the work that I've just given you and write it out. And you're not doing this for anybody yet. You're creating your framework as the leader. Go grab the workbook if you need it. All the answers, or the questions rather, are there so you can answer them. And it'll help you take faster action. All right? Next week, we're going to talk about assessing your team. We're actually going to talk about using the form. I'm going to walk you through how to do that. All right, but go do the form first. Create your content. Create your measures. As always, go and be legendary.